Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking, and I am Del Barzi. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today, I am very, very pleased to welcome Breann, Kakacek.
Yeah.
Breann is a registered nurse. She's a healthcare writer, so a content editor, and a ghostwriter. Thank you so very much for doing this, Breann. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Breann, I always want to know why people are nurses. Why are you a nurse?
So originally I got in to healthcare basically because I wanted more stability in my life. I realized that healthcare was a way to not only to provide for myself and that it would be a stable career, but once I got into it, I learned that I had a love for helping people. So I stuck with it.
So, was this like a second career for you?
Yeah, I was a mortgage consultant and a loan officer before that. And so I essentially, I don't know, I just realized that it wasn't for me and decided, to do something else. And so before jumping into nursing, I became a CNA first.
Okay.
Just to make sure that, it'd be something that I would love and be able to handle and have the stomach for before kind of getting into and spending all that money and time on a degree.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. I like what you said, have the stomach for. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely need to have a stomach for nursing. So
Indeed, indeed. So what were the biggest challenges for you? Because you're coming from, a business background to a kind of like a healthcare background. What are the biggest challenges for you?
I think for me it was kind of just understanding the differences and the nuances between it. So it's very different going from like business to nursing
Yeah.
because in nursing, you're more caring for others, you're less kind of responsible for like your own marketing and calling people out and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Unless
Yeah.
you do what we do now, kind of
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. So that was a bit of a struggle kind of getting into it, but like I said, I fell in love with it. So
And did it work out to be kind of what you thought? As a
um
CNA, you got into it as a CNA, and then, so that gives you a glimpse. But
yeah,
um, when you became a nurse, did it work out to be what you thought?
I expected it to be a little bit more like Florence Nightingale in the night and just, very dreamy. I had very dreamy hopes about it. And then I did realize it was a lot more nitty gritty and, hands in the dirt more so than. So I did have some romanticized feelings about nursing getting into it that um, that kind of went away after a little while.
Yeah, after a short while, I
Yeah.
bet. And that right there is why I asked the question, actually, because, I think myself included, a lot
Hmm.
of us get into nursing without really having any idea of just how much it involves. And that's really one of the goals of this channel, actually. I really want people to see what nurses do, what's
Yeah.
involved, what we bring to the table. So
Yes.
yeah. So what kind of areas did you work?
So the primarily where I worked is in ICU and CVICU, recovering open hearts and things like that. And that led me into moonlighting at my hospital in the operating room because then I made friends with all of the CVOR teams because you work really
Yeah,
closely with them
very.
at first.
Mhm.
So most of my nursing career is I did basically CVICU and then moonlighting in the OR for a while.
Mhm. Mhm. If anything, what would you like to see changed and how you think we can change it?
I think it's something that needs to be changed in nursing is within like the healthcare corporations and how they treat nurses. Um, I feel like nurses and most healthcare providers in general, down to CNAs and respiratory technicians, respiratory therapists, I think that there should be an overall better way to handle like their pay and their schedules, and to just create like a fairness for them. Because I know a lot of nurses right now, they feel like they're just being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're getting like equal pay and fair treatment and stuff like that. And so that's something that I would really like to see change. And how to go about it, I mean, that's going to come from like a deep corporate level, of things that need to be changed. But there's a lot of changes going on right now
Yeah.
in the healthcare world. So hopefully we'll see more positive changes coming in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing I want to see is that nurses step into those places. I want to see the nurses in the C-suites to help effect those changes. Because as you say, many, many nurses feel that they're being unfairly treated. And it's a real thing. It's not a fake feeling. That's the way it is. That many people are just treated like chess pieces on a board.
Yeah.
And that's not good enough.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And like I said, I think it comes from a corporate level,
Mhm.
more so than, like the lower levels of
Yeah,
management and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And nursing management is very often caught in the middle,
Hmm.
with very little room to maneuver.
Exactly. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, been there, done that. Mm. So, what would you say then is your greatest achievement so far? You've
I
worked in. Mhm.
honestly, um, being with patients, knowing and seeing on a regular basis that I affect their lives. Especially working in ICU, I can't tell you like how many patients have come back, walking when we never thought somebody would walk again, breathing when we never thought somebody would breathe again, and just come in and like personally like thank me and
Yeah, yeah,
and have their family members come in and um, it's really rewarding to
yeah,
know that you can have that kind of impact on someone's life, that
yeah.
they are just eternally grateful for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's worth far more than any money they could pay you. And no
Yeah,
one would ever be able to pay you for that.
exactly. It's, despite, what we were just talking about, like
Mhm.
hands down, it makes everything worth it, is being
Yeah,
able to help people and to know that you've touched somebody's life.
indeed, indeed, indeed it is. Indeed it is. So you're now a nurse writer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
I still work in the OR.
Mhm.
But yeah, most of the time I'm doing my writing now.
So how did you segue into that?
I've always kind of had a passion for writing. And then, I started kind of finding out that like, you can get paid to like write blogs and stuff like that. And usually I always thought of it as like, oh, okay, well, it was like, like the food blogs and things like that. But then as kind of time went on and I started doing more research, I realized that there was um, a a market for healthcare people to do it as well, and to
Yeah.
have a nurse do it versus somebody who is not proficient in healthcare can actually help benefit these companies a lot more with writing like factual information as well. So it kind of like takes out the middleman of having to like double check your work and your process to make sure that everything is accurate and correct and legal in a healthcare matter.
I'm glad you said that. And legal.
Yes, yes, not only factual but also legal. I do editing for another company as well, and they have non-healthcare personnel writing stuff, and I feel a lot of the times I'm shooting them back information, just like, hey, like this isn't
Yeah.
this isn't legal, that this can't happen in this post and be on this
Mhm.
website. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What what is your vision with nursing changing so much, and it's changing, exponentially. I see all kinds of changes happening so very quickly. So many nurses are entrepreneurs and standing on their own feet now, and demanding autonomy. How do you see nursing? What will it look like to you, do you think, in about 10 years or so?
Well, so I do hope that there are going to be a lot more people coming into nursing and working the bedside, and that things will change to where nurses want to stay
Yeah.
at the bedside. Because again, people get into nursing because they care about people and because they want to help people. But sometimes it could be made hard to do that. And so I really would like to see that change, to see more nurses want to stay at the bedside, and to want to help people. But I do love the direction that a lot of nurses are going these days, like myself, to be more into entrepreneurship and to use our license and our knowledge, for our own autonomy and to kind of help better the communities around us in our own way as
Yeah.
well. Um, so I think there's like a great aspect to both of those, and hopefully in the upcoming years they'll both of those sides will continue to grow.
Yeah. Because, whether you work at the bedside or not, you're still helping people.
Hmm.
Um, as so,
Exactly.
practicing as a nurse, you're still helping. Um, and it's great to have control over your own time and your own life. I get that.
Yes,
I
it
get that.
absolutely is.
Yeah. A lot, as particularly during and after the COVID pandemic. Well, we're almost after. A lot of people complained. I heard a lot of talk about burnout. Do you think that our education prepared us for not just for the pandemic for itself, but for what something like the pandemic would demand of us? And now that we know, do you think we can include that?
I think it should be included in nursing education now. I feel kind of like everybody in the entire world was blindsided by this pandemic. It's kind of like I feel like the
Yeah.
majority of people thought that our civilizations as humans in general was so advanced that we would be able to handle something like this, and that doomsday movies were just kind of left to Hollywood, and and that it would just kind of stay in Hollywood and they weren't fictional, and that they were only fictional. But I think seeing that a virus that was unknown and unfamiliar could come and just impact the world and healthcare so greatly really enlightened people and humbled them, to know that maybe we don't have things together as much as we should. And I feel like this should be taken as like a huge learning experience that not just nurses, but healthcare in general, and
Mhm.
doctors and scientists and everybody, kind of needs to learn and grow from a situation like this so it doesn't happen again, or have better policies and procedures in place, for if oh gosh, knock on wood, hopefully nothing like this ever happens again. But if it does, that we would be more prepared.
Yeah. That would be more perfect because in every single place I worked, there is a binder full of dust that talks about what's doing a pandemic situation.
Hmm.
Um, but it was full of dust,
Yeah.
it was there just because, but no one really ever paid attention or looked at it, or and now that we know the costs, not just human cost, but the cost to ourselves, perhaps we can be a little bit more um aware.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. When we talk about burnout, I believe that a lot of the burnout again comes from a lack of us caring for ourselves. Our education does not prepare us to care for ourselves.
Agreed. Yes.
So what does self-care mean to you?
To me, self-care means taking care of yourself as a whole. And that's in mind, in spirit, and in body. Um, you know, self-care can look different for everybody. It could be sitting on the couch and binging Netflix, it could be taking a
Mhm.
bubble bath, or it could be going for a mile-long jog, or going hiking. I think it's practicing mindfulness with all three, like your mind, your body, and your soul, to kind of practice at all of them, and whatever enriches your own life, outside of just working,
Yeah.
whatever it is that makes you feel good, and nourishes your body and
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. And we have to, each of us identify what that is.
Yes.
Because as you just said, it is not the same for everybody. In fact, it is not the same thing every day.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and somehow we have to remember to put ourselves in the equation. Put yourself on the calendar, put yourself in the equation somehow, to make time to nourish yourself. I ask that question of every single nurse because I know it's something we don't do. We're just, you get to work or whatever it is, and you just keep going, and then you come home and you keep going, and you repeat, sleep and repeat, until it becomes a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think taking care of yourself will help prevent a lot of burnout, especially nowadays, with there being like a lack of nurses, out in the field working, and stuff like
yeah,
that as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I spoke to one nurse a few months ago who really impressed me with her the way she talked about taking care of herself because she made a contract. Well,
oh,
I don't even, no, it wasn't even a contract, it was vows, really. But the way you write marriage vows, she wrote
yeah.
vows to herself and
Oh, wow.
actually said them out loud. I promise. I thought that was really cool actually, because very often we say the words and we think we're going to follow through, but we don't, or not
Yeah.
really, not
Like a New
consistently.
Year's resolution almost, you say you're going to lose 20 pounds this year, but did you really?
Yeah, exactly. Were you willing to do what it takes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That, I think it is just, yeah, setting your goals, and sticking to them, and putting in your own time schedule. Well, I'm going to take a bubble bath at least twice a month, and schedule that into your schedule, you
Or
know?
whatever, because whatever is
Yeah.
gonna make you feel good right now. As I said to someone the other day, it may be something as simple as clean sheets.
Yeah. Yeah. Clean sheets. I love clean sheets. I think going to bed with clean sheets is one of the best feelings in the world. So,
Exactly. It's just, if you're very tired or you're very, just slip between clean sheets and yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse though?
Um, to be patient, with yourself,
Hmm.
while you're learning, especially in the beginning. It could be very overwhelming, from what they teach you in nursing school to when you get, out and you start working. It's very different. And I feel like even just going to clinicals, and your preceptorship doesn't always necessarily prepare you for what it's like to be alone.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember I was very overwhelmed, at first. When I started out, I was on a telemetry floor and I had 5 patients. And it was very much just, I remember being back and forth, and without having somebody there to, right next to me to keep me on schedule, it felt very overwhelming. And so I think that anybody coming into this would just, to take everything that you say to yourself with a grain of salt, and to be positive, and patient with yourself, like as you're learning.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's very valuable advice. You really do have to be patient. You got to give yourself grace, otherwise, it becomes so overwhelming, and you become more and more inefficient, actually. More you
Yeah.
struggle, more you
Yeah.
struggle. Mm.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, just keeping calm and being patient with yourself. Like you'll learn what you need to learn and how to manage your time. And then, but yeah, like just like you said, if you're not and you get aggravated or you get a lot of anxiety within yourself, it does kind of cloud your mind and it clouds your judgment, and it may not lead you to, give the best of care that you can. So yeah, taking it easy on yourself, and knowing that you're still learning, because you never stop learning in nursing. That it's a constant. So
Yeah, yeah. Whether you want to or not, you're gonna have to learn.
yes,
And someone mentioned, I think it was just a couple of days ago, the very real thing of new grad anxiety.
yes,
And I don't know if we prepare our new grads for the anxiety and the feeling of being overwhelmed that they are going to feel, no matter how prepared you are going to feel, and finding a space to just, let it go and settle. Um,
yeah, yeah.
that-
Learning
that-
how to love yourself, because you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself first. And I think first and foremost that is very important. And without you being a sound of mind and of body and of soul, it's going to be hard to transfer the best care to other people.
yeah, yeah, and you communicate that to your
Yes.
patients, actually, whether you speak it or just your body language or whatever it is. You communicate that insecurity, and that, just communicates itself back and forth and makes the whole situation worse.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah. Communicating with patients is definitely a very important thing in nursing. It's one of the basic founding principles that they teach you throughout the program is how to communicate and
yeah,
how to educate, to help prevent them from getting sick
yeah,
and having to go into the hospitals or anything like that. So yeah, without your mind being at its sharpest, those things are going to be harder to, get through and
right.
to say and
Yeah,
communicate
exactly,
with them.
exactly. Breann, I have been asking nurses a question about nurses, actually, how we recognize each other. I've been asking if you could describe the most recognizable quality of a nurse to you in one word, what would that word be?
Um, in one word, how would I recognize nurses? I would say caring.
The caring. Okay.
Caring and yeah, because I feel like without caring, nurses can't really be a nurse. Like you have to have that basic foundation of caring for others and caring for yourself to be able to help.
Yeah. 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 You cannot possibly, if you don't have it, you either
Yeah.
have it. Do you think you can cultivate it?
Um, I think you can learn. I think you can learn. Like if because there are nurses who and a lot of healthcare providers who get into working in healthcare for like money, and not necessarily for caring for people, and hopefully those are few and far in between people, but they are there. And I would like to think that yes, that over time people can learn how to be more caring in their work, to be able to help others. So hopefully that you can cultivate that over time if that isn't a main reason that you got into nursing or healthcare.
Yeah, yeah. I believe that even if you didn't get into, even if that was not your primary goal, on some level, you had to have some nugget of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have gotten into something else because you can make money in many other areas. So you must have had some nugget. But as you say, it's not necessarily the overwhelming desire of everybody who gets into nursing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I feel a lot of people get into it for that reason, but not everybody does. So, but it is, I think, is a basic foundation of being a good nurse is being a caring person. And I do think that, you know, if somebody didn't get into it for that reason, over time, that those things can grow with them, like as they're there and they're with people and they kind of see what it's like for people to
Yeah,
be sick.
yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah. The awareness comes. Brianna, before we go,
Mhm.
is there any little gem you would like to leave us with?
um, oh my. Um, yeah, I would say what I've basically been saying is, you know, take
Mhm,
care of yourself.
mhm.
You know, because you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. And I think it's very important to, as you were saying, to prevent burnout with self-care, however that may be for you,
Mhm.
to you know, to care for everybody else.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. And on that note, thank you so very much.
Yeah, of course.
We remember to take care of ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
It has been my pleasure. Thank
Mine
you.
as well. Thank you.